Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's the A to Z Podcast. I'm Zach Jackson. He's Andre Knott. I almost screwed that up. I screw a lot of things up, as you know, but it's very on brand. It's A to Z Podcast.com, Facebook.com/A to Z Podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about digital marketing and Instagram and when to press send and when to step away from the phone. But we've discovered through all of our research and studies and everything that the best way to help this thing grow is to tell a friend, tell your cubicle mate, tell your mom, tell whoever it is, and hopefully we can grow it that way. Speaking of growing, Andre, how are you, buddy?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever you try to tell people how you doing. You don't know when people listen to this damn thing. Why even greet them that way? Anyway, I'm great. How you doing, man? Yankees-Indians start today. I work 2 more days and I'm on vacation, so I'm in a good place.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Let's start with that because the Indians have ridden the wave over the last week, and that's what you do in baseball. You know, 162, they're forgotten quickly, good or bad. I think Tuesday will linger, but just for the Indians' psyche, I think just for the fan psyche, and just for the baseball fan, you got the Yankees in town, big series, and tonight, I think a lot of people won't hear this until afterwards, but right now we're 4 hours away from Severino 14-2 or something like that against Corey Kluber, who might win the Cy Young. Pretty damn good night at the ball yard.
Yeah, I mean, this game is some games you go to and nobody's watching except your parents, and then you go to the park sometimes and the whole world is watching, and this is one of those days where the whole world will be watching one way or the other, because this is a dream matchup. Hell, this could be an all-star game matchup if they weren't going to be on the same team. Severino is disgusting. One of the most disgusting pitchers I've ever watched. He's been on a roll. And to be honest, I think he wants to show out against the Indians and show out against Corey Kluber because, we all know the saying, to beat a man, you got to beat the man. Corey Kluber's 2-time Corey Kluber's 2-time Cy Young Award winner, and he wants that trophy. So it'll be interesting to see how the Indians attack him. I know both Brantley and Jose Ramirez hit home runs off of him last year. He gets it up to 100 miles an hour. His slider is devastating. He is a closer from the first inning on. A couple of years back, they didn't know what to do with him. They didn't know if he was going to be a bullpen guy or if he was going to be, a starter. And shit, I wish they would have made him a bullpen guy because he literally can shut you down for 7 innings, like a big-time closer. So it'll be fun. Fun way to start the series. We may see CC Sabathia's last start in Progressive Field, Jacobs Field history on Saturday. All the pitching matchups have a fun twist to them to me. We'll see Clev and Bauer end the streak, or in the Saturday and Sunday. You'll see Clev versus CC. You'll see the 2 young guns. You'll see Bieber tomorrow night against their young pitcher that's got a lot of praise going on with him. So this could be fun. But my forewarning to all of this, and this is just saying it because I've learned it. I was on the radio with Camino a couple of days talking about this. No matter what happens over the next 4 days, it will have nothing to do with what happens in the playoffs.
Correct.
I know it's fun to say, oh man, look at how we matched up against them. Look what we did back in July. That's fun, but it means nothing. And if you want to believe, if you don't believe me, just go back to last year. The Indians handled the Yankees last year in Yankee Stadium, and that meant absolutely nothing in October. And I've been on the other side of it where Boston kind of beat us up a couple of years ago. And Indians went there and won in Boston to go to, to continue on in the playoffs. It's nice, but as Zach always says, when a tournament starts, it's all about the team that's hot. Indians are, and Yankees, I'm sure, gauging themselves after sweeping the Indians when the Indians came to Yankee Stadium a few months back. But it's all it is. It's 4 games in July. Right, All-Star break. That's it. That's all it is.
Correct. But it's 4 pretty intriguing games, reasons to watch, and then, of course, the Indians well represented in the All-Star game. I think if we had 5 hours to fill on the radio, I think we could debate, the relevance of the All-Star game and what it means to kids today and to TV today. I don't think we need to go down that rabbit hole because you talk yourself in circles. It's an honor for these guys. I'd imagine these guys have All-Star bonuses written into their contracts, most of them. Right,
yeah,
Trey?
some do. Some of them do. But let me just say this. The All-Star game isn't nearly as important as the day before, just like the NBA All-Star game. That's what they've turned these into, and that's probably why the NFL doesn't work. Do a skill competition. That's a real skill competition. You'll get more people to watch that. More people were into the home run contest, even though they've watered it down. more people are into the dunk competition than the three-point competition. I just believe that because the game is just to be completely honest.
Sure. And I am often get off my lawn guy, as our longtime listeners know, as our part-time listeners know. But I'm not being that in this regard. I'm glad Jose Ramirez is not in the home run derby because I just see it go wrong for guys. I just do.
Yeah, it fucks up your swing, to be completely honest. I don't know this directly from Jose, but I got a good feeling from Jose. I know at the end of last year he was really trying to get to 30 home runs. And I know some people around the organization feel like his swing got long. And when he got in the playoff series against the Yankees, it hurt him. I think they want to just keep him in his same place and let's see what he can do for a season, more or less. And you know what? If he wants to do a home run hitting contest, next year it'll be the perfect place for him to be in it. Progressive field.
Oh, really? Gosh, you learn something every day here on the A to Z
So, I
podcast.
mean, if you're going to see him in a home run hitting contest, wouldn't you see him do it in Cleveland rather than Washington?
That's true. 97, so every 22 years you get the baseball all-star game. That's pretty cool. So
what was the old commercial? Every 19 minutes, the place goes crazy.
Yeah, that was Northfield Park.
Yeah, so every 22 years, the Jake goes crazy.
Hey, speaking of that, Dre, something that goes back 6 or 8 weeks now that just kind of happened as we were discussing other things, or maybe we were going through the period where we were only doing one podcast a week. Sports betting was legalized.
Yeah.
Now, it's not yet set in Ohio. There's no guarantee that it will be. It's a state-by-state basis, but it was kind of overdue. What was written was kind of archaic. Some states were progressive and proactive in being ready. I believe neighboring West Virginia will be ready by football season, at least from what I've read. Again, it's been several weeks. It's not something we talked about, but I just was reminded of it the other day. First of all, I think especially when it comes to football, it's not going to change anything. I mean, if you wanted to bet on a football game, and let's be honest, there's football on TV 7 nights a week for half the football season for two reasons: the bettors and the fantasy players. That's just how it is. They can spin it any other way about exposure and whatever, but ESPN and Fox and everybody else pays those rights because they know that bettors and fantasy players will play. And the reason the house always wins in sports betting, whether it's a legal house in Las Vegas or an illegal house around the corner from me or from you or from wherever, is because it's difficult. It is, and you win a couple, you think you're invincible, and you push all in and you go. And they don't play these games on paper; they play them on TV, as you know, and it's wild. But I think it's overdue. I mean, look, if you wanted to be in a company pool, if you wanted to play parlay sheets at the barber shop or the factory or wherever, you can always do that. I don't really think it changes much, and in fact, I think the regulation and the attention to it would be a good thing, specifically to these power-hungry, ego-driven college coaches who never had to release a detail. I think a mandated injury report is not a bad deal. Now, they can still lie, and they will, but I think a little disclosure on things is not a bad deal, for the game, for the interest level of the game, for the integrity of the game. So I don't worry about it because, look, there was a time 10 years ago or so, and I'm rounding here, when all of a sudden people started making $4,000 bets on Toledo football. And in Las Vegas, they said, no, that's not right. Nobody even bets $400 on Toledo football.
Right.
And a bunch of people got busted, and that was a good thing, including some players and some people involved. So I welcome it. I hope that Ohio, gets it right. Now, years and years they did the casino deal, and they ended up giving a monopoly in what I think is a bad deal. But people are going to find a way, Dre, to do what they want, right, when it comes to vices. And we got our vices, and our people listening got our vices. And whether it's legal or illegal, Tuesday or Sunday, February or July, we're going to find a way to do it. So why not generate some revenue and add some regulation to it?
Well, we can talk about a lot of different things in society that people feel that way about. Everything you were saying, if you change the word to marijuana,
correct.
I think half of America will be saying the same thing. Here's the one thing I'll say about betting.
Fucking pothead.
There's a lot of there's a lot of people show up to work. Some people are alcoholics. Some people smoke pot. Some people do both.
Right.
As long as you show up to your job on time and don't dribble the ball out and not take the last second shot, nobody calls you a name.
That's exactly right.
The vice is there. Betting on sporting games has been around way longer than you or I or most people listening to this podcast, whether it be with boxing, whether it be with horse racing, whether it be with basketball, football, or baseball. For as long as there's been competitive sports, there's been people that have been willing to put a dime down on it one way or the other. At some point, we got to get past these archaic rules, as you said, and advance as a society, and stop trying to hide everything in the corner room and just be honest about it and get it out in the forefront. And as you said, I mean, everybody. It's always funny to me. Everybody knows the lines. It was we bring this guy up probably because Steubenville and what it stands for, and just what Steubenville stands for as itself. But Jimmy the Greek, that was like the early to mid '80s when CBS put him on the NFL pregame show and allowed him to actually talk about the lines of the games and what those lines meant. And that was kind of taboo in the '80s, mid '80s. And heck, we're in 2018. And it's still like some stations will say them, some won't. And it's like, look, people bet on games. They do it. I don't know how much it's going to affect. Like, here's my deal. And I'm asking the question because I'm not a huge bettor. When I went to Vegas, I had fun doing it. It's not something that's always on the top of my,
You were there on the greatest weekend of the year. College basketball first round. Yes.
Right. I love doing fantasy football, fantasy. There's certain things I like. But my question is, and I don't really know the answer to it yet, is for the guy that went to his local establishment, was able to get a parlay, or he put down, $1,000 a week. Does it change that game once it fully becomes legalized?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does this kill the mom and pop, storefront that was running numbers for somebody that's been doing it for a little while in a town like Steubenville, in a small little town where it's hard to find somebody that can run your numbers for you? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I don't think that it does. I think this. Look, if you got a place and the Super Bowl's coming up and people are going to do it, and they have been doing it, like, why wouldn't you want them to post that legally? Why wouldn't somebody want to do it, have the opportunity to come back on Monday and Tuesday and cash their ticket? Why couldn't the people benefit from, whether it's in the casino or somewhere else, from people taking time out of that day, early Sunday and Saturday, to go put that in,
Right.
Because, like I said, the casinos are open, the lottery is legal. All of these things are legal, semi-legal. Does it affect the mom and pop shop? I think only in theory, Dre. It does. I think the local bookie that takes $100 on game, or the guy that gives the parlay sheets to your dad and my neighbor, and they give them to all their workers, and people play 20 a week trying to hit 600. I don't think that affects that at all. And like I said, I think in the long run, big picture look at it, I think regulation is better because we're already past the normalization of it, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, it's already out there. The toothpaste is out of the tube, no doubt.
Manchester youth football, for almost 30 years ago, a couple things happened. One, we'd finish practice on Thursday, and the coach would look at us and say, when we wake up Saturday, or he would say, no sex before the game on Friday, it's bad for the legs. We were like 11, right? And then he'd say, you wake up Saturday, you shit, shower, shave, and you're ready to play some football, right?
and you were 11.
but before this, in practice, we'd do our drills, and all we ever did was run into each other, caveman all the way. They'd say, around the backstop, or run the tires, and everybody'd take off, and a certain coach, and I know he listens to the podcast, would pull me aside, and I wouldn't have to run that backstop. You know why? Because he'd already have his two choices for his 3-team parlay. He'd want to know what I thought about Texas -8 that weekend, right? So, I mean, that shit's been going on, and I don't think that affects it. What has been weird is we know that people have bet online and do bet online. It has been illegal in the U.S. They've had to go to Costa Rica or the Dominican or places like that. They've had to, go through different ways of transferring money and whatever. I mean, people, and you guys can look this stuff up if you're not familiar. People just moved. People that lived in New Jersey and Ohio and wherever just moved because they can never come back to the U.S., but they're rolling in the money that they got some way, somehow. And then the problem, of course, is if you ever hit it real big, if maybe, say, you're kind of a genius and had Croatia to make the World Cup final, maybe you got to worry about getting your money, right? If it's an offshore shop. So, it's interesting. The reason I brought this up today, Dre, is I was reminded as I was reading an article about this proposed $10 million match between Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods. Both guys, huge stars. Their rivalry, I think, helped grow golf at a time when Tiger was pushing it to new popularity heights or bringing it back in kind of the modern age. They're on the wrong end. It's a young man's game. But that brings some intrigue because they are big names. They are recognizable stars. There are legends, and I think they're probably more legends than true about Phil Mickelson's gambling. Now, the problem with this thing is they're playing for $10 million and ho-hum. We know Tiger's got like $4 billion, right? And it's not their own money. But I think what the legalization will do, it will be whether you would ever put $10 on a game or not. I think it'll bring more made-for-TV events like this into play in an era where these guys already make so much money for doing what they do.
But not to cut you off, but we already see it. Look at these basketball tournaments, the $2 million basketball tournament, where you got guys, former college basketball players, putting teams together. It's called TV. It's for money. You got flag football now on NFL Network with former NFL players and Carlos Boozer and Nate Robertson going out playing for $1 million. Like, it's out there. Like these almost, I want to call them grudge matches almost. It's out there where money's on the table, and once you can bet on them, why not? Now, everything you're saying, I just got to ask this question. You mentioned what happened in Toledo a few years back. Scooter McDougal, I believe, was the
Scooter McDougal from Shaw High. Yes, sir. From
Shaw High. Their basketball team, I remember I actually did a couple of their games way back when, like you said, about a decade ago. If it does become legal, completely legal, like I should think it should be, because it's happening anyway, regardless. It's uncontrollable. How do you control the college athlete that, say, at Toledo, say at Western Michigan? Because what happened in Toledo, it was just a guy that was a Detroit deli owner who figured a way to run numbers, figured out if he paid a couple college students that went to little old Toledo that nobody would be paying attention to, he'd make a gold mine. And he probably did until they got busted. And they got busted, I want to say, through the deli and food stamps. But that's a whole other story that the FBI can tell better than I.
Right.
How do you control, Peter Tem from going down to Kent State? We don't matter because we already get beat by 40 anyway. How do you stop them?
They're getting less than 3 touchdowns in week 1, but that's because they're playing Illinois. But go ahead.
Right. Come on, baby. Turn us around. How do you change that? How do you go from having the local guy with the slick haired back and wearing a sweatsuit giving $10,000 to a quarterback at a SEC school to throw a game? Because that has to become a concern, doesn't it?
That is a great question, and I think the number one dilemma that these schools, compliance officers, and to an extent coaches are facing. However, Dre, I don't believe the legalization changes that. Because, as I mentioned before, it's a fallacy if you think that Joe Schmo, that they've never seen before, can put $20,000 in a suitcase, fly to Las Vegas, and bet $20,000 on Toledo +6. He can't. That shit only takes place at the Super Bowl, at the national championship, all of that. And if there is a bookie in, say, Steubenville, as you mentioned, in Chicago, in Cleveland, in wherever, that is taking absurd amounts of money, that's going on, and that's not going to be on the books, whether it's legal or whether it's not. So, yes, this does bring up concerns, and it gives another chance, to educate and to regulate, and they worry about it. But Dre, I mean, online betting in some regard has been around since we were in college. That's when it started. And so if these guys want to bet $400 on themselves to win or to lose, it's going to go on, and it's not going to be stopped. And I just think the increased regulation and secure eye of it will actually deter that from happening. I really do. But that is
you might be.
It's a valid question because look, in the '60s, you could have got to a running back in the NFL or at Notre Dame, made him right. We've all seen the 30 for 30 on Boston College, right?
Yeah.
But now these guys make so much fucking money. How much do you have to bribe? Where is it? Where do you net profit from that? The answer is you don't. Right? You can't. So unless someone is going to throw the Super Bowl, which now we're talking way, way, way down the road, and way out in different galaxies, you're not ever going to do. You're not ever going to be able to pay them and make it happen to that point. You're just not.
Well, I've always said, before you even brought up this subject, I've always said with the way money is nowadays in sports, especially pro sports, that it's going to be very hard to get somebody to turn. The only people that you can get to turn are the officials or referees.
Correct.
That's up to me. Those are the only ones that you can see. And even them, they're making enough glue that, like if I gave said official $10,000, is that really enough for him to put his ass on the line for a couple?
Right.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like if you're making $150 a year, $250 a year, $10,000 shouldn't change the offer sheet for you. I don't know. I don't know though, but some people like extra money.
Yeah.
Some people, hell, we saw NBA officials get in trouble for getting rid of their first class seats and not getting, and they got tax evasion. They got tax evasion.
Right.
Also, they were taking normal seats, taking the money off the top. It wasn't that much money, but it was free money.
Exactly.
So some people do take free money. So I get it. I'm not saying I'm any different. There's times where I'd like free money too. But I just guess what it comes down to, is it really worth it at the end of the day to go through all of that?
Yeah.
And to find out whether a person would or would not do it.
Well, look, these people have gotten in trouble, and I've gotten in trouble for calling them out, but then I've been right about the two guys they had on KNR, Adam loses, and then this total fraud last year. Like, Dre, these guys that have it used to be 900 numbers, now it's websites and PayPal and buy our package and all that shit. That's been going on long before legalization. Right? That's as old as you said, Jimmy the Greek. That's what took it mainstream, right? Us growing up in an NFL, not primetime, what was it called? NFL Countdown in the Morning, whatever the name was. Hammer and Hank and Chris Berman, right? Giving their picks, tracking the picks on the graphic. 3 games a week, all year long. Who's doing that, right? Bringing the point spread into play. So, we saw Tim Donaghy get busted, and he gave the easiest method, and that's you bet the overs. You call fouls on the other team's best defensive players, and you let it go from there, because basketballs bounce in funny ways, as do footballs, right? But then now, Tim Donaghy had his day. He'll never be forgotten. He did his time, and now to have him be an authority on anything is fucking laughable. He cheated, right? He's proven liar, cheater, and criminal. And now when I hear him on the radio, I think, why, guys? Why? Like, he's given his insight. He's told his story. He wrote his book. He served his time. Like, time's up, Tim. Go away. Congrats.
So you don't find him interesting at all to hear how the goings on.
No longer, because I've heard it. He's been out of the league for 8 years now. Like, I've heard it.
Right. And I would hope things have changed. Yeah, and I would hope things have changed in the 8 years since he was there as well. But I do think that he gives some insight that most people don't have when it comes to officiating, whether we like him or not. He knows things. He's been in places most of us have not been. And he does tell a story that most of us don't know.
Sure. And
now, is he a liar? Now that comes back to the perspective of how much can you trust this person. I get what you're saying. And maybe everything he says when he goes on the radio with Lima or with Camino or whomever else, maybe it is all bullshit. But I tend to think there's some truth there. I don't know the guy personally. I don't know how he really is. He may be a habitual liar that looks like hearing his name's called and said. And we know a lot of people like that never made it to the NBA refereeing category.
Correct.
I don't know, but just to throw it to the wayside, I think you do have to pay attention to the rogues. I do, because I think they can tell you how to break the system or how the system is broken.
Yeah, no question. And like I said, I mean, his story is interesting. I'm just saying it's been out there, and what I would say to people that believe everything is fixed or think that there's a conspiracy, like, don't watch, right? And like, if you really knew how much money's involved and what would be at stake with these TV contracts if it really was that way, then like, I think you're kidding yourself, right? I really do. Like, the leagues take great measures to preserve the integrity of the game. And it is a business, and all these guys are out to get their money, whether they're sitting on a $300 million contract or they're a guy trying to hang around the league for 2 more paychecks, right? I just got a hard time believing that the competitive part of it is lost, in that with few exceptions, teams and players aren't going out there every night, every weekend trying to win. You would have to sell me.
Yeah, no,
really,
I hear you.
Really strongly on that.
I hear you on it.
Yeah.
But there's a rogue in every situation, every place.
Sure.
No matter where you turn, it just is what it is. And I think we'd be foolish not to think that or not to see that in any way, shape, or form. Let me bring up NBA Summer League. I'm very cautious on any of it and all of it. to be honest with you, I really haven't paid attention to it for 15 years, maybe here or there.
Right.
As Pete said, I watched a little 4 years ago when LeBron left. I remember LeBron. I watched every minute of LeBron, and like that takes you way back. But I can remember when LeBron was actually in Summer League. I watched because, to see if this high school kid could really do it. I haven't watched the game. I haven't watched 3 minutes of a game, so I'm being upfront and honest. But I've obviously watched clips and seeing what ESPN runs and what NBA TV runs. Sexton, here's what I'll say. Sexton's been able to do everything he did at Alabama in the Summer League, which I think is a plus. What does that mean come October? What does that mean December, January, February, March, April? I don't know.
Absolutely nothing.
But to me,
right.
Nothing. But I have to say it is a good sign to see what I saw Colin Sexton do at Alabama. He's been able to do for the most part against other NBA rookies or second-year plays, and Chetty Osman has been getting busy.
Sure.
Means very little, but it's better positive. Like Trae Young, like they break Trae Young down, like he's already been in the NBA for 5 years.
Well, he was the face of college basketball last year. He's the most recognizable player in the draft. So
the hairline too.
Yeah, well, he got it fixed. He got some money.
Yeah. LeBron need to go set him up with something. No, he needed to set LeBron up with something. Hey, man! You leave town, I get to take shots.
It's true.
Come and get me. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know what the Cavs are, who the Cavs are. And if they really want to keep spouting off that they're not going to get rid of Kevin Love and Kevin Love's walk here, God bless them. If you buy tickets for that, I got some land down in Florida that build for you that would work too. He's going to get traded, people. It may not be in July. It may not be in August. But he ain't going to be a Cavalier on April 12th or whatever the 2019 season is. Believe that. Well, that's a bet. Let's do that bet. We're gonna get that bet. He ain't going to be a Cavalier. But if Sexton, I guess my point was, hey, it's better that Sexton's playing the way he's playing than him being a total bust. And I don't think he's going to be. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be able to get to the hole. I think his shooting is going to hurt him at times. But I think he will be a fun player to watch.
Yeah, no, he's a kid. You have to keep that in mind. I have watched maybe one thing close to a full game, but I've watched and I've tracked it, Dre, because I'm such a college basketball junkie that I know a lot of these names. And the one thing that stands out in the Summer League, and from having been there, it is not the NBA. I mean, these guys wear the logos, and the important thing is they play in a system, they go through pro practices, and they play against other pro players, but not near the top half of the NBA even. When you look around at guys like Chetty and other teams, it's generally the guys who've been in the NBA for a year or two who dominate the Summer League. Why? They're just so much more advanced, weight-wise, strength-wise, age-wise, and just being a pro, they get out there and they have the confidence to do it. So I like Colin Sexton. I really like his work ethic, the fact that he was a 4-point student his whole life, the fact that he didn't go to one of the powers. He felt like Alabama did the best job recruiting him. They got knocked out of the NCAA tournament by Villanova, destroyed the way everybody else did. His ass was right back in class on Monday. That don't happen in a lot of places, and that don't mean he'll be great in the NBA, but those are just little things that, especially in today's basketball culture, stick out. So if you're the Cavs, you got to go about building the big three, because that's the way everybody's doing it right now. You hope like hell that Colin Sexton will be a part of that. If that's to be true, that's many, many years from now. He's 19 years old, right? So make your other decisions. You see other players like Chetty, for example, who might fit in certain roles with certain guys. You gauge the market for Kevin Love, and you decide what you want to do. They don't have to make any decisions right now, as we discussed the other day. I think that's a positive thing. It's not the shock and the disappointment of last time that your franchise guy walked out, but you have a roster that needed gutted whether he stayed. You have some tradable pieces, still some untradeable for a year or at least many months pieces, and you got guys that need opportunities. Whether you're outright tanking or not, Dre, Sexton and Osman have to play a lot this year because they just have to get the experience. You have to know what they are, and I don't know. I think I think Osman's 24, so you might know more about his ceiling after watching him play for 4 or 5 months than you will for Sexton, where it's 4 or 5 years down the road. But, the Cavs are just going to operate under the radar. That's fine. Again, I can't imagine anybody going to the games or really being excited, but to the hardcore Cavs fans, there you go. I remember walking when I was out at the NBA lottery and Combine in Chicago. My last day or my next to last day there, stuff didn't start till late in the afternoon, so I took off and just started wandering for lunch, and I ended up over by the United Center, and I decided to go see the Michael statue and who's the 2 hockey players that are out there. I'm not going to try to name them and botch it because I'm sure I'll get it wrong. But as I was walking down the street, I looked up and they had these banners, and one of them was of Lauri Markkanen, who might be a nice player, was picked, I think, at 7 or 8, right where Colin Sexton was. And this
I think he can ball. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, but this is who the Chicago Bulls are putting up there, so this is where they are right now. And I remember thinking at the time, for everybody that has LeBron fatigue and organizational fatigue and is tired of the circus, well, here's the alternative. You're putting up banners of Lauri fucking Markkanen, right?
Right.
So that's just where it is, and we'll see where it goes. We know that of all the pro sports, the way to go about it, the NBA probably sticks out the most, as you don't want to be in the middle. So if the Cavs choose the tanking route, or it's chosen for them, then maybe that's the best way to go, and we'll see what happens.
That's all we can do. See what happens. There's something else I was going to ask you about baseball, but it's not that important. We always got time.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Who's your 100 going on, Phil or Tiger?
I think Phil.
Okay.
I think Tiger would kick ass early. I think Phil, if Phil can get through the yips in the first few rounds, I think he would blow him away. Tiger can't finish right now.
I think,
Tiger's
yeah. Him being back is great for golf. It truly is. And there will be some buzz for the British Open next week. I know some people care about golf, some don't, but the fact is there's many, many, many numbers to back this up. More people care about golf when Tiger Woods is relevant than they do when he's not, period. That's just the way it is. And just to kind of sum up the prior conversation, if you're some company that's willing to give $5 or $6 million to be all over this event, and then now that sports betting's legal and you might get 2 million more eyeballs on this thing for that very reason, whether people are betting $10 or 10 times that or 20 times that, then maybe you're willing to pony up more. So we'll see. Like I said, there would be much more sizzle if the guys had their own money involved. At least as of now, there's not. There might be regulations with that. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I try to avoid them. But that's just kind of how that goes. Let's do a quick programming note while we got you here.
Shout out to Paul Adamson. Hey, by the way, let me ask you this.
Okay.
And you've asked me, but I want to know this. Then do what you got to do. Why do you think that Tiger Woods has that pull on America, on all eyes, when it comes to golf? He's a great golfer, but he's not the first great golfer that we've ever had. We've had a lot of younger guys over the last 5-6 years that are fun, that have attitude, that have personality. Why does Tiger still have that hold on us? I'm asking. You're around golf more than I am. What is that? What does he do, or what has he done that brings multiple eyes and makes us all want to pay attention to him?
Well, he won at a crazy level. I mean, for many years straight in his 20s, he was ready to take down the major record of Jack. Now he's stalled out since then, but he didn't just win; he won huge. He won all the time. And I think the look of him, and I'm not just talking about the color of his skin, I'm talking about if you've ever seen Tiger Woods in person, he's a brick shit house. Average Joe can't look like that, can't hit a golf ball like that. And that goes for any of these PGA guys, but the ones that are 5'11", 170 pounds, which half the tour is, or at least used to be, average Joe watches TV and says, I could do that. When you looked at Tiger, nobody said that, right? You got to be real delusional to think that.
You're right. You're right, but that's what brings people to like little basketball players, though.
Well, sure.
Think about it. What you're saying is what usually makes people popular. When people look like them, or they look like you're like, oh man, I can hang out with Kyrie Irving, or I can hang out with Mark Price. Like that usually gets more people to watch. I don't know if I agree with that. I think they're rooted for as the underdogs. I mean, we know to make the NFL and the NBA, you got to win the genetic lottery, right? Like
8 times out of 10, or maybe like 9.6 times out of 10.
No doubt.
Right? So I think when people see, like, that's a reason I think it would be many years, and probably not in our lifetime, that soccer will ever be a popular mainstream sport here. Because I think people see them and there's no, like, huge, like, you see LeBron James gallop around and do these things, and you know you can't do that, like, humans can't do that, and you can't do that. Right? I think that's a part of the appreciation of it, is I couldn't run that fast, I couldn't jump that high, I couldn't throw that hard, all of those things, right? I think that's a big part of it.
Well, I'm going to say something I thought I don't ever say, and hopefully you agree or can see what I'm saying when I say this. After watching the World Cup, or the amount that I watched, which isn't a ton, but after watching it and seeing it, I mean, hell, like yesterday we had it on the Jumbotron here at Progressive Field during batting practice. Like, it's become that big of a deal. We should be embarrassed as a country that we've turned soccer into, and I can say this, my wife's played in college, and I was talking to her college.
Be careful, you don't want these soccer people coming after you. Just trust me on this one.
They can kiss my ass. You know how I feel about it. I say that about anybody and everybody. They can get a congrats. We should be embarrassed, though, that we are letting countries as big as Maine get places we can't get. We have the greatest athletes in the world, and we've made soccer into, it's like hockey, it's like baseball. The travel teams and the money that it takes to be on these teams, we're eliminating our best athletes from ever trying. You said this years ago, and I chuckled when you first said it, but it rings true so well today. Do you know what it would be like to have Russell Westbrook? Hold on a second. I got to do something. That's going to be great. Hey, man, are you Nick Camino? Don't you do commercials? Don't you do commercials for Audi? That ain't a fucking Audi.
That's my wife's car.
God damn, you look a little hot, man. Audi should kick your ass. Yeah, you should be driving the Audi, dummy. Yeah, well, you're on A to Z. Good job.
No, you're right. When we trot Russell Westbrook out there, who's played soccer from the time he was 10 years old, then nobody will beat them.
Oh, I'll probably make an appearance.
No, I'm sorry. I got Camino now. He's embarrassed that he made A to Z. I already brought your name up on the podcast. Don't worry.
It's my weakest man.
Good. I'll see you in there, Skinny.
Don't mention this for my Audi spot.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Audie's gonna be all right knowing you're not. He's in a Honda hatchback. Yeah, what a fin. God bless you. You're a good husband or something. Let me finish my podcast. It's just to me, soccer just should be. We should have teams there. Like when you look at those athletes, you look at Croatia. God bless them. You look at England. You look at. You're telling me if we could have our top 20 kids, top 20 athletes in Ohio go play football, we go play baseball or basketball. You're telling me we can't get the next 10 in every state to go play soccer and be dominant?
We'll see.
But how do we get get there? Because all these other countries are getting their best athletes to play soccer. We don't need our best athletes. We just need our 45 percentile to come out and play.
Well, the war on football is going to be back here in about 4 weeks, so we got a lot of months to talk about that.
True.
Talk about how it's going to go. Quick programming note. First of all, shout out to Scene, to Honeymoon Grill, and to American Fireworks for helping to make this happen. I don't know if I mentioned that at the top of the show or not. We hope you know that. They've been awesome to us, and we hope you guys will support them. But it's tough for us to have guests at this time of year, as longtime listeners know, because just with our schedules and baseball, to have a guest, we actually have to be in the same room. And Andre and I have not been in the same room since his birthday, which was the first week of the baseball season. And even that was me showing up mostly unannounced at his front door and saying, I have the computer, I'm coming in. So
right.
We have a guest who has a hell of a story to tell, and we're going to try to get that set over the next week or so. If we can't, then I will just interview him on my own and package it as an athletic podcast. As we get closer and closer to football season, if you have guest ideas, as always, send them to us. One we really want to get is Terry Bowden, the Akron coach, and an amazing storyteller from one of the amazing football families. We kind of got big timed last year when we tried to set that up, and so we were a little hesitant, and we We didn't really pursue it as much as we could, but we would love to get Terry Bowden on. And again, all of your input is welcome. You're free to chuckle at me for posting the wrong file, as I did the other day. I could make a list of excuses, and most of them are valid, but it's on brand. We appreciate all of your support. A quick thing here I want to say, guys, as I've maybe mentioned this a time or two before, my cousins own Barberton Speedway over in Norton. If you're from around here, you might know what that is. I've been helping them with some of their social media stuff over the last couple weeks, and I have some free passes. So please, if you live 2 hours away or if you never go there on a Saturday night, don't do this. But if you would go, take your kid or go with your buddies and drink some of that cold American beer, go follow Barberton Speedway on Instagram and comment to me on one of the things, and the first 3 people to do that, I will send you a pair of passes to get in at night at Barberton Speedway. I know you guys like free stuff, and again, please only do it if you'll use it. Dre, so you'll be gone. Will you be back Monday or Tuesday, do you think?
I'll be gone the whole time, but it'll be. I should be back Tuesday, actually.
Okay.
But I'll be easier to do pods with because I'm going to the beach.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully you don't drown there, and then maybe we can get you on the boat out here, get you a nice life jacket, and then we can do this interview. That'd be good.
All right, perfect. Well, not if you bring up me drowning and things of that nature.
And things of that nature.
So when we were in Cisco, we had a day, and this will be my last story before we get out of here because I'm walking into the Progressive Field. So when we were flying from St. Louis, Tito, before the game, was asking me what I'm doing on my off day. He asked me all of that. It's just like our normal conversation. When we got an off day on the road, he's always just, hey, what are you going to do today? What's your plan? Sometimes he laughs at me when I tell him I'm going to go sit down and go hang out with Trevor Bauer. He calls me a dumbass. Then other times he laughs. When I was going to the beach last year in Anaheim, he almost came with us. So we're getting ready to get on the plane, and we're walking to the bus, and I'm on the phone with Jen, and Tito's telling me, thanks for taking care of the tar, things of that nature, to Jen, and then he goes, hey, you want to go to Alcatraz tomorrow if I can get in? And I was like, he goes, you ever been to Alcatraz? And I was like, nah. And he goes, me either. You want to go if I can get us in? And I go, sure. And Jen goes, no, you can't go with Tito. He'll throw you in the water. I go, why would you say that? She goes, I know how you guys mess around and how he likes to fuck with you. No way in the world I want to hear about you two at Alcatraz together.
When you were on the boat out here and she FaceTimed you to make sure you were wearing your life jacket, that was like one of my best athletic accomplishments, I got to say. I laughed so hard.
Hey, if you guys, I hope everybody finds a love like mine. Is all I'll say at the end of the day.
I love stereotypes. I just really do.
Sometimes I think you hate me.
All right, on that note, we got to get out of here. But thank you guys for listening. Thanks for your support. And we will have another one, an All-Star Break edition, or even 2 next week. Because even if we do this interview, we don't have to run it right away. But anyway, appreciate your feedback. Appreciate your listening. Appreciate the support from all of you guys from Scene, from Honeymoon Grove, and from American Fireworks. Check them out at AmericanFireworks.com. For Andre, I'm Zach. See you next time.
Konnichiwa, bitches.